I remember even when I was living in San Francisco, I'd be hearing people talk about how to get you your pizza faster. Like, you're trying to solve your own really small problem. And then I'd come and I would be in other places, be that visiting India or visiting Atlanta. I'd be hearing problems that were just from a completely different set of lived experience. And they were phenomenal ideas, solving real problems. But that big money is still in the Bay Area. And there's big ideas all over the world.
Alaina, thanks for coming on the show today. You mind giving a little background about yourself for the audience?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm Alaina Percival, co-founder of Women Who Code. It's the world's largest and most active community of diverse women technologists. We serve members in 147 countries, and we serve 360,000 members.
Thanks for coming on today, Alaina. I'm excited to get into it.
Thank you.
I think I think coming out of the zero interest rate environment, I think there's a lot more people who are saying, okay, well, venture capital is venture capital. That's just writing a check, and maybe you make some introductions to hires. But what else is there as a vehicle and as a construct for investing and supporting startups? And I think we're starting to see a lot more creative approaches. I've talked with some people who are also investing in companies that are old school service based businesses. Think a plumber for 30 years, and bringing in some of the tech principles and bringing in a little capital can actually exponentialize, build a founder brand around that one individual, 10x it, and just do permanent capital rather than kind of this venture model of need the IPO, need the exit, need the liquidity. So it's an interesting landscape for sure. It's definitely changing a lot. I'll check out David Cummings though.
Yeah. Yeah. I always tell entrepreneurs who are thinking about taking investing, like you're taking people with some sort of power, influence, connections, business knowledge, and helping them to have like a stake in the success of your company. You're not just getting money from them. So, you know, choosing
Ideally,
right. And yeah,
you,
ideally.
you should expect more than just money. Yes.
Yeah. And so often you hear, you know, choose the right choose the right funders, the ones that are going to be able to help to support you beyond that check. And so yeah, that's so true. I love the way you're thinking about really building an ecosystem around it, and also doing it outside of the Bay Area, which is great.
Right? There
Yeah.
are more places to build stars than just San Francisco.
Hmm.
So you mentioned ecosystem. I
Hmm.
feel like Women Who Code is probably one of the best examples of a community ecosystem, whatever word you want to use. How do you think about building that community and kind of the whole journey that you've been on with Women Who Code over a decade, I guess?
Yeah. Um, so when I think about that, it really is this thing that is kind of subtle when you say like that sense of belonging, that community. It sounds easy and light, but it's actually just incredibly powerful and has a tremendous impact on the lives of the people who are participating. And part of that community retain like gaining that sense of belonging, getting those opportunities, being reminded that there are, other incredibly talented diverse women in technology, leading in technology, and then getting resources. One thing that early on someone told me is when women are ready to upskill in an area, they'll go to their manager and they'll ask permission, whereas their male counterparts in the company would just use the company time to spend 3 days learning something new, and then they go to their boss and they'd be like, "Look, I learned this," and the boss would be really happy. But the women were coming and saying, I'd like to learn this new thing. Can I take some time to do it? And they'd be like, I've got, I need you to focus on your KPIs. No. And so they were missing out on these growth opportunities. And so it creates space to um, invest in yourself. And, and throughout the time we found out really some of the things that we just happened to be doing were some of the most powerful in helping women overcome bias. So when you think about when you need to get a promotion as a woman, you need to typically demonstrate experience in that versus being hired on your potential. And so we're having, about 2,000 talks delivered by diverse technologists every single year. And so you're getting, leadership, you're increasing your profile in the tech industry, you're getting your name out there, you're demonstrating expertise. And so you can then go back and have that conversation and say, hey, this, this leadership thing that you can't imagine that I could have, like, let me tell you how I already have it.
I mean, there's so many different aspects that go into it. So, first of all, being a white male in technology, there's so many things which I can't necessarily experience firsthand, but I think it's important to obviously recognize that there are these imbalances and these differences that show up. And then people like yourself who are actually out there advocating, quantifying, measuring, building ecosystems and structure to kind of support that change. What is Women Who Code's core thesis? For someone who hasn't heard of it before, what's the thesis, the premise, and the platform that it ultimately is?
Yeah, so Women Who Code's mission is to empower diverse women to excel in technology careers. And what we're focused on is that mid-career individual to continue to upskill, continue to develop a sense of belonging. And the idea around that is around 50% of women are dropping out of their technology careers mid-career. This is higher than they are dropping out of other STEM areas, so it's not families. And it's higher than men, so it's not tech. And so what we identified is every time we can retain a woman on her chosen career path and help her reach her potential, it equates to a $1.7 million lifetime earnings impact. And when you put that at scale for Women Who Code serving 360,000 members, we're talking billions and billions of dollars going to diverse women, their families, and their communities. And so it's very powerful.
That's incredible. That's incredible. In terms of what is driving that higher number, is it the community? Is it belonging? Have you been able to identify any one thing that is maybe disproportionately driving that drop off of women in mid careers, or is it kind of just an amalgamation of all the aspects?
Yeah, so the drop off certainly, what we see is around the time when they're seeing their male counterparts' career really take off, they are stalling out, and it's often the small bias that you're facing day after day, in your career, and it builds up over time. If you were to complain about one thing, you'd be the weird person who complains all the time, but it builds up. And so at some point you get on a project where, it's not winning, or you have a boss that you're not getting along with, or a colleague that makes you feel as though tech isn't for you anymore. And you end up dropping out because what you've heard over and over again is when you do exhibit leadership skills, you're great at understanding what the product needs are and product usage, or talking about it, instead of saying, wow, this engineer is really delivering for us, we should consider promoting them. They hear, have you considered marketing? Or,
Hmm.
product might be a better path for you. But actually, an engineer that is able to understand the business use case is able to understand and build and solve the problems in a way that's incredibly valuable to the company, and should be considered for a leadership position. And that male counterpart would hear, oh, or would be viewed as exhibiting leadership skills.
Is that bias based on that it's a male dominated industry? So typically the manager of these women, these technologists, is probably male. And so it's kind of just perpetuating this funneling women out of technology. Is that kind of the root there, or is it something else?
Yeah, I mean, across our society, it's more challenging to see women in leadership positions. And then when you get into an industry like technology, where women are so underrepresented in leadership roles, it becomes much more difficult to just envision that pathway. Women are expected to demonstrate those leadership skills, which is where Women Who Code comes in. And you can demonstrate skills by, being a leader within our community and bringing that back as a talking point for getting promotions or getting new roles inside of your organization. And that's what we see is if you become active in volunteering and speaking or leading a project with Women Who Code, we see people getting promoted very quickly. One of my favorite examples is someone who stepped up as a director, which is a high-level volunteer in our organization. Up in Toronto, she was an individual contributor, and under 6 months, she got promoted to lead at her company. And a year later, she slacked me and said, she'd taken a director role at another company. And so these are high potential individuals. They're brilliant. They're software engineers. They're excited about technology. They're excited about learning, and it gives you that leadership experience, that edge, that sense of belonging, and also the understanding of how you map out your career to think about what your next steps are. Because often, anyone at any point is only thinking about maybe the next thing in their career, but actually the promotion after that and the promotion after that and the one after that, you're working towards all of those today. And so if you can start to figure out what that third promotion is that you want, you can start to intentionally work toward that promotion.
Yeah, it's taking the long view of every single step that you take today. Yes, maybe there's a direct milestone that you can see, but there are those 10 others that you can't see, but you are ideally walking and working towards those
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
For how you go about effecting this change, right? So the community, the curriculum, not curriculum, but the programs that you offer, the materials, the support that you offer, what just kind of paint a picture of what materials and communities look like and smell like for someone who might be curious in joining.
Yeah. So signing up to join Women Who Code is free. You visit womenwhocode.com. We're producing an average of 4 events every single day across a variety of different programming languages, frameworks, career development. And so whatever area of technology you are interested in growing in, interested in demonstrating your leadership skills in, there's a place for you with Women Who Code. And when you think about the amount of programming that we're doing, it just becomes richer when your voice is part of that story and part of bringing that forward. So we're across all social media channels as Women Who Code, and of course our website. And then if there's anyone who's hiring software engineers, we also have over 300,000 diverse technologists. So please share your best technical roles at womenwhocode.com. We have a job board.
I think I mean, 300,000 unique people. That's incredible, the amount of impact that you've had. I also know, one of like you said, the promoting women in leadership positions in technology and empowering them to take on more leadership roles. You yourself are going through a leadership change with Women Who Code. Talk a bit about that. How is that? What motivated that change, and what are you looking forward towards the future?
Yeah, so I'm the co-founder of Women Who Code, and I was the founding CEO. I just stepped down as CEO after more than a decade leading the organization, and some days I'm absolutely terrified, but most of the time I'm just so excited for the opportunity for the organization. The person that we brought in is a former CIO of a public organization. She was highly technical and an advocate throughout her career. And she's now joining Women Who Code to lead the organization. And she also was one of our founding sponsors. So she's been part of the Women Who Code ecosystem since the beginning. And so we are so lucky to have her. And for myself, the door is just opened, and my instinct is to stay really close to what I'm doing, to go deeper on investing and supporting entrepreneurs. I'm very interested in seeing diverse individuals, gain access to power and influence and create, better businesses that are more inclusive. And so my instinct is immediately to, get into supporting entrepreneurs. But I want to really force myself to take some time this year and not just hit the easy button to go with, what seems pretty similar. If I end up choosing that, that's fine. But I want to explore learning in other areas as well.
Lena and I met over a decade ago in 2013. Well, maybe 9 years ago, close to a decade ago, maybe 10 years. But we were at a co-working space in San Francisco, and so the one of the things that's always been interesting is that Women Who Code is a nonprofit, but you're so surrounded by this tech startup ecosystem. You've seen so many. I've had friends who have started maybe 5 companies in the span that Women Who Code has been around. So, what's it been like to be in this world, but also be slightly, separate from it in that you are a nonprofit and you have a different structure. You're not trying to go for that IPO. You're not trying
Mhm.
to go for some billion-dollar exit. How has that been, and what observations have you maybe had on building a company like Women Who Code versus building a traditional venture-backed startup?
Well, my first observation is, or learning is, I wouldn't do a nonprofit again because I'm ambitious
Sam
and
Altman
I
might agree
well,
with you actually on that point.
I would do yeah, exactly. I had the opportunity to ring the bell at the stock exchange a couple times when they allowed a nonprofit to show up there, and I'd like to do that for real if I'm doing it. I'd like to be doing it because I'm IPOing a company. Um, but you know, we have $1 billion impact, but we don't have a $1 billion exit. And so we're a different type of unicorn. And like you said, most startups, they're not making it past year one or year three or year 10. And there's a lot of passion in being a startup founder, nonprofit startup founder, and that takes you through through those times. And a nonprofit is just like a for-profit in that you are running a company, and you're running a company that has big challenges, that the market influences it in crazy ways, and you have to adapt to it quickly, and you have to also hit it the right time, and have the grit to make it through um, when they say the troughs of despair and all the
They are
things that are
long and they are deep.
yeah. And so first and foremost, if anyone's listening, um, do a mission-driven for-profit or B Corp if you're thinking about doing a nonprofit. Own that company. Um, but yeah, it's been an incredible journey, and I couldn't be more proud of the impact that Women Who Code has had over this past decade. And I have just been honored throughout this entire time to have gotten to wake up every day and be part of this.
It truly shows too. I think you mentioned whatever you do in entrepreneurship, whether for profit, nonprofit, B Corp, doing something that you are actually passionate about is the only way in which you will actually have staying power and have success. And even then, you might not have success. But
Yeah.
there's no amount of external incentive that can get you through those troughs of despair and those dark days and just everything's not working unless you actually care about the problem and the people that you're trying to touch and impact every day. So I unequivocally agree with that sentiment as well. For Women Who Code itself, you kind of described what the mission, or you have described the mission statement. For you yourself, I know you're going through this period where you're thinking about reflecting and kind of figuring out what is next. What impact do you want to have on the world?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I want to drive more more power and influence and wealth to diverse individuals. So my focus area has been women and diverse women, but of course, broadly, I think that can get much bigger. That's why we focused on being global instead of just in San Francisco or just in the United States. I want to see more influence happen at a systemic level. So that's why my immediate instinct is to focus just a little bit further up, is follow the thought leaders, and if they can make a decision for their 10 person or 300 or 300,000 person company, the impact can be much faster.
I think that's interesting because there are kind of those two different approaches. You can do bottom up or top down. And I think both have merits at different times in different situations. Women Who Code, correct me if you disagree, but it seems like it's very much kind of bottom up. You're working with the women, helping them get to the next stage. And so for you to have a decade of experience in that and then to say, okay, well, let me try a different tact and try it from the opposite perspective. It's interesting to see, or I'll be interested to follow kind of how that impact changes with that differentiated approach.
Yeah, I am too.
It'll be an exciting 2024 for you. And are you planning on staying on that global level? Is that definitely something that you want to stay in, or you thinking more domestically?
Um, I haven't made that decision yet. So on the investment side, supposed I'm focused on um, finding venture positions for a Southeast focused VC, and then I also am working with another global organization that has like a full global view, a full global footprint. And so, as I decide where I'll be spending more time, I'll probably stay true to my global view, but I also love the idea of supporting ecosystems outside of the Bay Area. And I'm in Atlanta. I'm from Atlanta. I'll probably be looking to have some level of impact locally as well.
Having done the San Francisco world, we again, that's where we met. So I'm always curious about how that experience translates outside of San Francisco to a different environment, to a different city, to a different country, even. What's the Atlanta startup scene look like? Should investors be trying to look for deal flow from that world, or is it going to be a mecca for AI or something? I mean, or do you still feel like a lot of the startups end up migrating to San Francisco, and so that's where the best opportunities are?
Yeah, I think there's fantastic startups here. And I remember even when I was living in San Francisco, and I feel like I'd be hearing people talk about how to get you your pizza faster. And I'm like, you're trying to solve your own really small problem. And then I'd come and I would be in other places, be that, you know, visiting India or visiting Atlanta, and I'd be hearing problems that were just from a completely different set of lived experience. And they were phenomenal ideas solving real problems. And what I think is, um, you know, the big gap is that money is still so focused on the Bay Area. You do see it in some of the other big hubs, like, you know, New York, and sometimes Boston for some areas, sometimes LA. Um, but that big money is still in the Bay Area, and there's big ideas all over the world.
There are. Even in my small little Philadelphia startup scene, I've definitely met a few entrepreneurs, and I think there's also a certain amount of filtration that naturally happens because in San Francisco, not anything can be funded, but a lot of things can be funded. Whereas in other areas, it takes more validation. You have less dollars, so you have to make it further with the dollars that you have, and you have to actually prove yourself in a deeper and more meaningful way.
Hmm.
I think also we are going to be seeing the shift of this is more of a personal thesis, but I'm curious what you think. I think with the advent of AI, we're going to be able to build companies, and we, meaning humans, are going to be able to build companies with less dollars faster. And
Hmm.
so by being able to get to a point where I created something that creates value for one or more people, therefore it's a business or it could be an investable business, I think we're going to see that venture capital still will play a massive role. There still will be that kind of growth and pouring gasoline on the fire. But to get to the point where you go from pre-seed or friends and family, pre-seed, seed, and it's typically between seed and Series A that maybe you start having revenue and you have some product market fit and you've got some traction. I think we're going to see kind of the bar shift lower and lower. And there's just, you can't invest $1 million in someone that's kind of just hacking away something and figuring out, and they figured out how to generate revenue with, and while working at home. So I think that the profile of what makes a good startup investment is going to shift as we kind of enter this new world. But also, that's me putting on my AI tinfoil hat. What's your kind of perspective on AI and the next decade of startups?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's going to be shifting how we're building our products, how we're selling our products, how we're customizing for, the user experience. And so it's going to, you know, create a huge opportunity for new companies, but also existing companies to move faster. And you know, it's feels like it's just the beginning, but it feels as big as you know, having internet and laptops in your home. Like it's that transformative. And so I think we'll be seeing a really big impact, but it goes back to there's great ideas, there's great operators and builders everywhere. Um, can we get the funding in different parts of the world?
Do you see kind of a desire for, we talked about kind of bottom up and then top down. It's early, but have you seen more demand from one side or the other, whether it's people who want to learn these skills, want to learn kind of about the next wave of technology, or is it more corporations that say someone's going to beat us to it? Let's start kind of exploring and experimenting with this, new paradigm.
Yeah, I mean, in our community, people are really excited about it. So people, you know, engineers are wanting to learn about it. Um, I can't speak for every company out there, but Women Who Code is excited about what the opportunities are. I've I've dabbled in academia over the past couple of years, and I see there's fears and concerns, but it's not going away. You just have to figure out what is the new normal, and how do you adapt to um, this this new type of technology,
The
or
only way is
faster,
through.
more developed type of technology. It's not really new technology. It's just
Yeah.
the things on top of it being new.
Well, I remember when I saw a few different fads in the Bay Area, and one of them was, I think VR was very popular in 2013, 2015, somewhere around that. And yes, Zuckerberg and Meta are maybe still on that bandwagon, but
Yeah.
there's certain trends which are very, very exciting, such as AI, and others that are maybe not as exciting for the future that we want to build.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure VR has a place. It that to me, the timing certainly
I think the
hasn't
timing
felt
was
right.
very off. Yeah.
Like AI is it's bigger than Bitcoin.
I think it's bigger than the internet. We'll see.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's a fun time to be alive. Alaina, if people want to connect with you, learn more about Women Who Code or what you're going to do next, where should they find you?
You can reach me at Alaina at womenwhocode.com, and also please join womenwhocode.com. Support the organization, whether that's a donation, posting a job, becoming a partner, supporting members out there, giving a talk, whatever that means to you.
This was a phenomenal conversation, Alaina. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.